Hello, and welcome to Informatically Speaking, a Greater Delaware Valley ANIA podcast designed to promote knowledge sharing in the field of nursing informatics, locally, nationally, and globally within our unique industry. At GDV ANIA, we are committed to providing opportunities for professional development with the goal of advancing nursing informatics practice. I'm your host, Constance McLaughlin. Welcome back to the Greater Delaware Valley ANIA podcast, Informatically Speaking, a podcast for nurse informaticists and informatics enthusiasts alike. Today, we are here with Whende Carroll, who is the Informatics Advisor and a fellow at the Healthcare Information and Management Systems Society, also known as HIMSS. She has served in leadership roles in quality improvement, clinical effectiveness, nursing informatics, practice optimization for healthcare systems, industry, nonprofit, and payer organizations. Whende is a nursing knowledge, big data science policy and advocacy work group member, a steering committee member, and a co-chair of the Digital Health and Innovation Work Group. She's also an American Nurse Association Innovation Advisory Committee member for Artificial Intelligence, Augmented Intelligence and Data Science member. She has authored and collaborated on numerous publications about informatics, nursing informatics specifically, artificial intelligence, and nursing, and the essentialness of a unique nurse identifier to measure nurse value in our value-based care ecosystem that is so much already. But now, I'll add, Whende also co-authored and edited 2 books, the 2020 American Journal of Nursing Book of the Year text, Emerging Technologies for Nurses, Implications for Practice, and most recently published Nursing Informatics, Truth, Talents, and Transforming the Future, which was published through HIMSS. Oh my gosh, Whende, what a string of work you are doing. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you back.
Thank you so much, Constance, for having me back. What an opportunity. I am so excited to talk to you again.
This is great. And you were with us last year, and you talked about your journey through informatics, which I love to talk about that with people. And I think I had several of the guests talk through their journey because everyone is so unique in where they get to where they are now. And all of those things in your bio, I didn't want to leave anything out because it's so interesting to hear about your journey again. And now you're at HIMSS, and that's exciting too. So the last thing I mentioned there was your most recently published book, Nursing Informatics, Truths, Talents, and Transforming the Future. I definitely want to talk about that today, but also because you've been so involved in the different work groups that you've been involved in and just the editing in numerous and contributing to numerous publications, I just wanted to take a little bit of time first to talk about nurses and writing. You're a published author, award-winning text, just all of these things that you do. I know you have some opinions about nurses and writing. So let's talk a little bit about that. Just expand on how we should get started. Nurses have so much to offer. They have so much wisdom. Let's talk about that for a bit.
Sure. Yeah, I do have opinions on that. And more than anything, I really have encouragement for that because in our in our profession and the work that we do, we have so much knowledge and we have so much knowledge sharing to do. And I think when you look at our organic practice that we do in care delivery settings, all we're doing is knowledge sharing with our colleagues, with our fellow nurses, with our fellow clinicians, with our fellow members of our patient care teams. And that is just something that we're all doing all the time, is we're communicating and sharing what we know, as part of our jobs, as part of helping one another. And we learn from each other all the time. We can't do our jobs without it. I mean, that's how we continuously learn. There's the formal way of doing it, and then there's the informal way of doing it. You could say, I have a mentor, I have a preceptor. Well, you're learning from experience, but you're also learning from those around you. And whether you're in a specialty or whether you're practicing, kind of broadly in nursing, I think we all have unique practice experiences to tell. And we also have very different and important stories to tell. And I think we all have very also important opinions that we need to bring to light. And I think we all can have very groundbreaking, disruptive thoughts that we need to get out there. So, and we also need to have that, bring to the forefront. Others may not know what I know, so I need to share it. I think, and that's a segue into getting started, because I think when nurses may be interested in writing, one of the things that may stop them from starting, even though there's an interest, there may be a thought of, this has already been written. Nobody wants to read this. No one will be interested. And the thing is there could be, a different one topic with 50 different, different experiences and skill types and spins and stories on it that are going to make it different and are going to make it more current and up to date than something that was written 3-5 years ago. So that's important to note. So we always want to do that too. We want to keep practice current. So there are your seminal articles that will be great forever, were groundbreaking, but you always want to, make sure that we're staying up to date. So there's that. And then putting forward the idea of when you're, in maybe a new practice or a different type of environment of work, maybe you're out of a hospital or a care practice setting into a new environment, a different environment, a non-clinical professional environment, something like quality improvement or risk or informatics. That's different, and you have those really different experiences. Maybe you're just somewhere out in the industry somewhere. Those are definitely those pearls that you really want to share with nurses, that become very interesting, because we all know nurses want to expand their horizons. So that's really important to write about, those types of things. And those are really the types of things that publishers are interested in hearing about.
Well, you're right. And, while you were talking, I was thinking, where's your passion? Where does that lie? And that's where you get started, right? I mean, it could be you could be a legal nurse, you could be a floor nurse, you could be an informatics nurse, you can be anywhere, really. I mean, if your passion lies in policy or practice or whatever, just start writing, right? You and I had this conversation not long ago, because I have a ton of things in my brain that I want to write about. And I do, of course, have some of those things written down, but it's find your passion, write it down, and then really get into it. Because when you start writing, you realize that you can focus on a dime, on a pin dot, and go so deep into that who cares if somebody wrote about it, but they didn't write about it right now, not right today, right? So you're talking about what's current, what's happening out there. I totally agree. I think it's important. I think it's the encouragement I think people need.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So let's talk about your book. Speaking of writing, what was the impetus to start this book? So you've been, again, you've been part of so many different work groups and contributed as an author and contributor in other aspects. You've gone through 2 books and editing. So what made you think about this topic and then really start to get into it? Tell us about that.
Well, the original thought behind this book, and it did take a little bit more time than the first one. The first one, Emerging Technologies for Nurses, was a little bit more straightforward. It had a more linear kind of different authors. Everybody took a technology. We all wrote about it. This is a little bit different. And we'll talk about kind of the different areas in the book and kind of why that was. But this was mainly about the missing voice of nurses in the full life cycle development and deployment of health IT solution, digital health tool development and solutions in the marketplace, and how nurses tend to not be heard or brought on to those types of projects. And until too late, maybe you see that more in the implementation part of it, or certainly in the suddenly you're practicing on the floor somewhere, or you're in sales, or you're in account management or something like that, and you're using the tool, but not in the ideation, the entrepreneurial part of it. Maybe not in the product design, maybe not in the technical development phases of it, where early on where you should be. I saw that because I worked in a startup, an AI and predictive analytics startup. So I felt it there. And then the more I started kind of being in the industry and being around folks who were doing emerging technologies and disruptive types of new care models and things, I saw it more and more. And more in the nursing informatics community, started having conversations with other nurses and informaticists and scientists and researchers and educators who were saying the same thing. So I thought, well, we're all talking about it, but I think the message needs to get out. So I pivoted a little bit in the middle of this. So I pitched it to the publisher, who immediately said yes. But I pivoted in the middle of it and realized what the core of this really was a part of what we really needed to do was create some language for nurse informaticists to have to really, at the core of it, understand what their value is and how to really be able to verbalize what that value is, understand
That's
it.
it.
Yes, and be able to verbalize it to themselves, to their families, to their colleagues, to other clinicians, patient care teams, to families, caregivers, to prospective employers, to leadership, for all of those reasons. So that is what will put you in the life cycle. So, and then we wanted to give people who are practicing as nurse technologists the opportunity within the book too to be able to understand what it's like to be in the industry. So we have some information there on thriving in your career, and then looking into the future as well. Get a little bit more into that, but that was the impetus really of it too. So it changed in the middle of it a little bit.
Well, I mean, I love that you were, of course, our network is invaluable, right? So you're out there talking to people and you just got this light bulb that said, hey, wait a minute, we're all talking about it. We need to write about it. That's awesome.
Conferences will do that to you.
I love that. I do. So let's get into it though. Let's talk a little bit about the book. So, uh, we talked about the premise and what it's about. And I love the fact that you and others are writing about what is our value and what's your elevator speech. That's something I know that I've talked about for years. You really need to hone in on how you're explaining your worth and the value that you bring to all aspects of healthcare in the work that you're doing as an informaticist. In the book, you talk about, I'll just give the high level truth, talent, and future. What am I missing? Am I missing?
No, that's the 3 sections of the book.
Transforming the future. That's what it was. Transforming the future. Yeah. So let's get into each one of those sections. What are the truths?
The truths are, first off, we start off with the state of the current state of healthcare and how what our challenges are really, what the landscape looks like, and how nurse technologists and innovators are really going to be needed, and what our gaps are, and what our opportunities are to really make a difference there. That sets the tone. And then we move into the truth about the value and how we are perceived in nursing in general, and how that really kind of trickles down into how we are perceived and the opportunities it does or does not give us in nursing informatics specialty and healthcare IT industry, and all the opportunities that we have, that we actually do have, that are untapped, that we don't see, but that we need, sets you up for later on when you start talking about your value. Well, there's a bigger systemic challenge we have, but just to set the tone, this is something profession wide that is just something to know about. So, and then we have an amazing chapter about just an overview of nursing informatics, past, present, and future, and all things about nursing informatics, which I call the one-stop shop chapter about nursing informatics, written by a pioneer.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, in our community. And then we move into talent, what nurses have and need more of. And we talk about, what nurses can do, network, and what they do in their life cycle of practice as a nurse technologist. And then we move into what I think is the most important chapter that speaks to the premise, which is chapter 5, which is substantiating the value of nursing, where you get to that part where you talk about the scripting that we actually have, where you talk about those having the elevator speeches that we have for ourselves, that we have for our families, that we have for our colleagues, that we have for our prospective employers, for our employers, for society. And we remind ourselves of really who we are. And then also a little bit, a nice spirited discussion from a couple of informaticists in the industry who talk about their career paths. So talk about their talent and what it looks like in the landscape today. And then we talk about the future and innovation and new technologies, and a nurse informaticist using innovation in leadership, in education, and implementing disruptive technologies, and what that looks like in real world use cases. And then finally, what tomorrow is going to look like. Specifically, 5 things that nurses specifically will begin to do, what new models of care will begin to look like, what the clinician of tomorrow will look like. And then how we need to start staying relevant, really honing our skills and looking towards a more thinking about equity in technology, the digital divide, but making sure we're keeping our eyes on equity for all in practice that we have, which is more important now than ever.
Well, I just got my copy and I can't wait to dive into it because these are the kinds of things that are just they're relatable, right? So it's not so kind of out there thinking, how do I apply this? This sounds so relevant for an ageless. Really, it's timeless. I think that this is the kind of book that everybody's going to be able to use for a very long time, and we needed it years and years ago. Um, and like I said, I'm excited to jump into it. I wonder what you think. I'm going to kind of throw you a curveball. You've been in the innovation world for a while, for a long time, and AI keeps creeping up, and people are nervous about it. Nurses are nervous about it, and I wonder. And I'm asking pretty much everybody that I meet, if they think that we have truly transformed yet, because for years and years we've digitized. We've digitized the paper. It was all right, so it all went through. We're still kind of looking at a piece of paper on the screen, if you will. That's what I feel like I'm looking at anyway. I don't know that I feel like we've truly transformed through innovation. Well, I think we're creeping along, but I just don't think that we're there yet. And I want to know what you think.
I think we have incrementally replicated our old processes. Has there been some change? Yeah. Have we been mind-blowingly disruptive? Probably not. But that's human nature to not be. I think again, we always talk about it in this way, or we have for the last 5 years. I think maybe unfortunately we're kind of over it, and I don't want to be. I want to be over it, and I don't want to be over it, but we have to think about COVID, and we have to think about what happened with what we did with telehealth so quickly, because we made such strides in like a few months.
It's true.
That was disruptive. That was innovation. We did that because we had to do it.
But I
Yeah.
feel like we still have to,
Yeah.
right? We really do have to, but
If
we're
we,
just not
yeah,
moving fast enough. And I don't
sure.
know.
If we want to make, if we want to make, if we want to, address our workforce challenges, of course, absolutely. And don't we want to? Don't we want to do new and different things? Of course we do. And doesn't leadership want us to? And don't organizations want us to? And don't we want to finally fall under this bigger umbrella of digital transformation rather than just looking at the EHR, or even just looking at it,
Yes.
or just thinking about a role like informaticist? Let's look at it all under a bigger picture of this care continuum that's completely digitized across the globe. Like let's make that the dream, and everything underneath that. So I think if you look at it that way, and just take piece by piece and see how it all fits together, I mean, that's going to be that's the big thing. We might be looking at things in too big a chunks, and they continue to be siloed. Things are happening with AI for sure in healthcare. We're getting there. Um, I think we want to get there. I think we have some good use cases, and um, we'll see.
Yeah, I think we do have some good use cases, and I think we're already using it in places that we don't even realize, or nurses, with their heads down taking care of patients, don't realize that we're already using it. Um, yeah, always interested to know what people think about transformation versus digitization, because we've certainly did digitize, but I guess I'm still thinking there's so much more to do. There's so much more for us to really say that we are truly transforming to get really where we need to be and be innovative and implement this stuff a little bit quicker. Because when I hear nurses either, they're worried about the AI, they're worried about the technology, but yet we're still typing, right? So we're still spending hours typing into, don't you want to change that? We need to change that, and I think we talk about the burden and all of that, which is true, but there's a lot of things that have to happen in order for that burden to go away. It's not just about the computer, it's about CMS, it's about policy and what nurses are supposed to be documenting and who's telling us exactly what we should be documenting. um, that I could go down a huge rabbit hole on
We could
this.
have a whole other podcast show.
I think we should. I think we should. Because now I'm on a roll. Okay. So, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that because that's my new question of the year. I'm asking
That's a
everybody,
great question. That is,
digitization versus transformation. So we'll see what others have to say about it. But I'm so excited to dive into your book. And I'll say again, it's called Nursing Informatics, Truths, Talents, and Transforming the Future. It is available in many outlets. You can get it on the HIMSS website. You can even, I think, get it on Amazon as well. I think I've seen it there too. And it's just exciting. I can't wait to read it, and I'll be definitely talking with people more about their elevator speeches and how they feel their value is out there in the world. So if you can give us some words of encouragement, Whende, about writing, what would your main point be about encouraging others to start writing?
I would say to get started, um, I think the worst advice is just put something on the page because that can be really anxiety provoking. So that's not what I'm going to say. I'm going to say something different. I'm
Okay.
going to say find somebody to partner with. This is something that I didn't think about or realize until later on, that find somebody to start with, or a one or two people, or even a group. If you feel like you want to get started, dip your toes in, you know, get a band together and, collaborate on a paper or a short piece or something, and have co-authors. That is a fantastic way to get started, especially if you have people who are more, maybe a little bit more seasoned writers than you. It's a fantastic way to get excellent feedback. It's a fantastic way to get mentored. It's a fantastic way to learn from others and see how they're writing and get their styles. It's a fantastic way to just learn the ropes of publishing and peer review. If you go into that kind of process, if that's where you're writing in that type of journal, they'll help you through that. When I was first published, I did maybe my first 4 or 5 papers all on my own, and I didn't never thought about collaborating with other people. And now, I think, wow, that would have been a really great way to start. That would have been a really great way to start. So, that's what I'm gonna say is, put a band together, or at least do a duo project with somebody, and, that's a great way to learn, and a great way to, um, just get started and really get, some pearls from other people.
That is excellent advice. And I'm going to take that advice, Whende. Well, Whende, it's always so great to talk with you. I'm so happy that you agreed to come back and talk with us and share your knowledge. You have such vast wisdom, and you have such a great network as well. Just all the work that you've done. I'll just say on behalf of the listeners, thank you for all the work that you have done and contributed to the informatics world. And we have to make sure that we're out there reading your papers and reading your textbooks, Like I said, I already have nursing informatics, truth, talents, and transforming the future. So I'm excited to dive in. Thanks so much for your time, Wendy. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Constance. It was my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you'll join us again for another session of Informatically Speaking.
This has been a production of the Greater Delaware Valley chapter of the American Nursing Informatics Association. For more information about the GDV-ANIA chapter, visit us at community.ania.org/Greater Delaware Valley/home.